Theology in 3 minutes. Topic: the argument for consciousness. Consciousness is something we all feel intuitively. We know it when we see it. However, it's also something that we cannot quantify or define. Science can only describe it materialistically. We can measure brainwaves. We can track neurons firing. We can even map which parts of the brain light up when we see color or hear sound. We can describe how the brain works, but not why it produces experience. That gap is known as the explanatory gap. The gap between explaining why the neurons are firing and the conscious perception of an idea like "I see a red apple." Even if we had a perfect understanding of the human brain, we could not artificially create a consciousness any more than we can spontaneously create life. And for years, scientists have tried to artificially create life from non-life in a lab. But every attempt at spontaneous generation fails. Only when life is introduced from outside does the experiment finally stir. Without that seed of life, even with the perfect ingredients, the mixture remains inert. Thus, life and consciousness are not purely material. They are greater than the sum of their parts. One atom isn't alive or conscious. Two atoms aren't either. A trillion atoms, even when arranged in the most complex ways, still follow the same mundane physical laws. So how can you get from nothing more than complex matter to true consciousness? The answer is, you can't. Consciousness is awareness, not merely information processing. And that awareness can't be replicated by mere matter. Even with AI, we can certainly create something that seems to imitate consciousness. But even that is nothing more than a predictable, albeit complicated, series of unconscious calculation. It is simulated consciousness, not real consciousness. Some would say that our minds were merely materialistic and developed solely for survival. But then why would we long for transcendence? Why do we ponder eternity? Humans are uniquely capable of this kind of self-reflection, of seeking beauty, meaning, and truth, of asking, why am I here, and where could I be? Our consciousness, in religious terms, is the proof of the human soul. Even the Greek philosophers of old acknowledged the soul, the divine spark in all of us. The ancient Greek philosophers also coined an idea known as solipsism, the idea that only your own mind can be known for sure. You cannot prove that anyone else truly experiences the world as you do. You can only infer it. This fact is even more proof that consciousness isn't something measurable in any meaningful material way, but rather something more, something within, something personal. And if each of us has a soul, the next question is obvious. Where do our souls come from? From what, or perhaps who, are we given that divine spark? It has to come from somewhere, right? And since our consciousness is immaterial and more than the sum of its parts, then there is only one logical conclusion: that our minds, our consciousness, our souls, must have an immaterial origin, an immaterial creator. And if so, then that means our consciousness was consciously created by a conscious creator, and thus we are made in the image of that creator.